Welcome to R3 Tech. This is Ritesh Srinivasan. In this video, I'll explain about what is word-to-vec model and how you can train your custom word-to-vec model using GenSim and Python. The link for the GitHub code repository is shared in the description. If you like such content and are new here, please subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Let us look at the motivation for word-to-vec. If you look at audio or images, what happens is that you have dense data. For example, you have this audio spectrogram or you have this image where you have image pixels. There's a lot of dense data. But when you come to text, the word, context, or document vectors are very sparse. So how do we get a dense representation for text data? So Word2Vec was introduced back in 2013 by researchers from Google as a way of word efficient estimation of word representation in vector space. So this is the original paper and the link of the paper is present below. I'll also put this in the description. So in this paper, Google proposed a way of mapping a word into a vector space. Okay. Now, if you look at this as a vector space over here, for simplicity, we said it is 2 dimensions, but the original paper proposed around 300 dimensions as representation for each word. So here you have the vector of the word king, you have the vector of the word man, you have the vector of the word queen, you have the vector of the word woman. Now, on these vectors, when they did some vector composition operation, for example, they took the vector of king, subtracted it from it the vector of man, then added the vector of woman. They got a result in vector which is very close to the word vector of queen. So in this way, it is able to capture the gender relationship between king and queen. Similarly, man and woman, uncle and aunt. Similarly, the word vectors were able to capture relationships like plurals. For example, queen is to queens, king is to kings, things like that, right? In this way, these word vectors were able to capture nice relationships among the words in the corpus. Let us look at the standard representations for words. Right, the standard representation is bag of words, which uses term frequency or inverse document frequency (TF-IDF), or we use one-hot encoding. When we say one-hot encoding, if you have a vocabulary of 4 words, for the second word, the vector would look like 0, 1, 0, 0. For the first word, it will be 1, 0, 0, 0, and so on. Right now, when you have say 20k to 50k words, then the one hot vectors will also have dimensions of 20,000 and 50,000. Basically, for every word, you need such huge dimensions to represent the word. Okay. And another disadvantage of this one hot encoding is that if you have two words like hotel and motel, actually semantically both are the same, right? But in the one hot encoding, you might have different vectors like this, right? So this is where word2vec came. Okay. So in word2vec, they tried to represent words in a vector space. So this vector space could be of dimensions 200 to 400 dimensions. It is also known as neural word embeddings, which you will get to know when I'm discussing in detail about word2vec. So here what happens is that if you have two words which are quite similar, then their values also are quite similar in the vector space. There are two types of word-to-vec models. So one is continuous bag of words, other one is skipgram. Okay. So what happens in the continuous bag of words is that you take a particular word in your text and you look at words which are before it, words which are after it. These words are then fed as input to a single layer neural network, okay, which then tries to predict that particular word itself. Okay. So when you train this single layer neural network over a large set of words, what happens is that the neural network learns a vector representation of this word. Now, where is the vector representation coming from? That is coming from the weights of this single hidden layer which is present over here. Okay. So the other architecture is skip n-gram. So what happens over here is that you give a input word and then you try to predict its neighborhood. Now this neighborhood could be a window of 5 words, it could be a window of 10 words. Okay. So you give an input word as an you give a word as an input to a single layer neural network, and this network then tries to predict the words which are in its neighborhood. Okay. Again, over here, when you train over a large number of words, you will get a vector representation, which is nothing but the weights of this hidden layer. Okay. Now, both these networks have some advantages and disadvantages. Skip n-gram actually gives very good representations for rare words, but it takes more time to train than the continuous bag of words. The continuous bag of words network is faster to train and gives good representations for frequent words. Okay. In the later part of the video, we'll look at skip n-gram and how to train a skip n-gram model for word embeddings. Let us look at how we can train a skip-gram model. So the idea over here is that if you use the input as the word the neighborhood words are, it could be quick or brown, right? Now, if you look at the word quick, it needs to predict that the neighborhood words are the brown or the fox, right? Similarly, if you now look at the fox, if you consider a window of 2 words surrounding it, then the words are quick, brown, or jumps over. So what happens over here in the first example is if you consider 2 words before and after, so you don't have any words before, that is why you have 2 words after. In this case, you have 1 word before and then 2 words after. So basically, in this case, you are considering a window of 2 words before and 2 words after when training the skip-gram model. Okay. Let us look at how we can train a skip-gram model. So we have an input vector. So assuming that we have 10,000 words in our dictionary, every word will be represented by a 10,000 dimension one hot encoding vector. And what we will do is that we will arrange the words in the dictionary in an alphabetical order. So for example, the word ants will have say one in some position corresponding to the index of the word. For example, if the index of the word in these 10,000 words, if the index of the word ant is 300, then in the 300th position, it will be a 1 in the one hot encoding vector and all the other positions will be 0. So that this one hot encoding vector is a representation of the word ants. Now this is given as an input to a hidden layer of neurons. So what happens over here is that these are linear neurons. So basically there is no activation function over here. So we have 300 neurons over here. So this could be 600, this could be 500, right? Depending upon how much do you want the embedding space to be. Okay. So then from this hidden layer, you have a fully connected output layer, which is nothing but a softmax activation over here as an activation function. So softmax is used over here, and again because we have 10,000 words, we have 10,000 neurons over here. Okay. So now what we are doing over here is that we are trying to train a skip-gram model, which will predict what are the words which appear in the neighborhood of the word ants in your text. Okay, now we have 10,000 neurons. Again, these are in the alphabetical order over here. For our example, we are saying that we are learning word vectors with 300 features. So the hidden layer is going to be represented by a matrix with 10,000 rows, one for each word in the vocabulary, and 300 columns, one for every hidden neuron. If you look at the rows of this weight matrix, they are actually our word vectors. So in this way, we have a word vector lookup table from our hidden layer weight matrix. Let us now look at the output layer. Okay, so we give input over here as the word ants. You have 300 features coming from the 300 hidden neurons. Okay. The output neurons also you have 10,000 neurons. So now each neuron will have 300 again 300 features which is coming as input from the hidden layer, right? So basically you have 300 weights over here. So you multiply that weight with these features, and then you apply a softmax function at every neuron. So what happens over here when you apply a softmax function at every neuron? It kind of creates a probability at every neuron, and when you sum up the values at every neuron for these 10,000 words, it will be equal to 1. Now what does this probability mean? It means that in this case, right, if you randomly pick a word nearby ants, that is car, because here we consider the output weights for car, or the output neuron is for the word car, right? Now, if this probability is 0.3 and somewhere down the line you had another word hill whose probability was 0.6, that means that the word hill is much closer to the word ants in our context. Now, let us look at what are the issues with skip-gram training, right? So we had word vectors with 300 components and a vocabulary of 10,000 words, right? So you have two weight matrices, a hidden layer and an output layer. Now both would be 3 million weights each, because in the input you have 10,000 into 300, in the output you have 300 into 10,000. Okay, so you will get 6 million weights. Now running gradient descent on a neural network that large is going to be slow. And to make matters worse, you need a huge amount of training data in order to tune that many weights and avoid overfitting. So it will be millions of weights times billions of training samples. So that means that training this model is going to be a beast, right? It is a lot of time to train such a model. So to overcome these issues, there were two concepts which came up. One is a sampling rate, right? So if you have a very large corpora, the most frequent words can easily occur hundreds of millions of times. For example, the words in, the, and a. These kind of words usually provide very less information when you compare it to the rare words. For example, if you have a skipgram model, okay, which benefits from the observing the co-occurrence of France and Paris, it is much more important than France and the, even though the word the occurs much more frequently with respect to France. Okay, because Paris is the capital of France. So this is of much more importance to us than the word the and France. Okay, so this idea can also be applied in the opposite direction. The vector representations of frequent words do not change significantly after training on several million examples. Okay. To counter the imbalance between the rare and frequent words, they used a simple subsampling approach where each word wi in the training set is discarded with a certain probability computed by this formula. Okay, where f of wi is nothing but the frequency of a word, and t is a chosen threshold, typically around 10 to the power of minus 5. So the idea is that you have very frequent words, then you kind of discard that words when you are building up this skipgram model. Okay, and this threshold t is very small, typically 10 to the power of minus 5. So the most frequent words could get discarded. Okay, so in this way you are reducing the number of words which needs to be trained. The next idea is negative sampling. The idea here is very simple. For example, if you had this word quick and you know that the word brown, which appears more frequently with the word quick, in your skipgram training you said you try to predict the number of neighboring words, right, around the word quick. So the idea over here is that you introduce some other random words over here. So for example, 4 other random words which don't appear frequently with the word brown. Now these are called as negative samples. So in this way, when you train a skipgram network, what happens over here is that yes, the input is 10,000 into 300, but the output over here becomes 5 into 300 weights. So you have effectively reduced the output layer over here. Okay. So the next question is, how are these negative samples selected? Okay, these negative samples are selected using a unigram distribution where more frequent words are likely to be selected as negative samples. Okay, so the more frequent words in the uh, uh, vocabulary or in the text is actually selected as negative samples, and this is the formula where probability of a particular word wi is nothing but the frequency of the word wi divided by the sum of frequencies of all the words. Okay, so what they found out is that in the paper is that if they raise the frequency of the word wi by a power of 3 by 4, similarly in the summations they could get very good negative samples. So let us look at what are the hyperparameters for our word-to-vec model. So the two hyperparameters are number of negative samples and window size. Right. So the number of negative samples, the original paper prescribes that you can have any number between 5 and 20 as being a good number of negative samples, basically 5 words to 20 words. It also states that if you have a large enough data set, then you can pick anywhere between 2 to 5 words, right? Then we have the window size. Basically, smaller window size means that, if you have a window size between 2 to 15 words, basically you are giving a word and you are trying to predict 2 to 15 words in its neighborhood. That means that, it gives high similarities for these embeddings. It indicates that the words are interchangeable. Okay, so if you use a window of 2 to 50 and if you pick up an input word and some other word, and if it gives high similarity scores when you compare these two embeddings, that means that these words are interchangeable. Similarly, if you take a large window size between 15 to 50 words, there it says that if you take the output embedding for any two words in this window size, and if the similarity is high, then the words are more related to each other semantically.
In this notebook, I will demonstrate how you can build your custom word-to-vec model on your custom data. So the basic word-to-vec functionality, I've used code from the word-to-vec tutorial over here. So basically, I'm downloading a Google word-to-vec model using gensim.downloader, and I am instantiating my model over here. Now, if you look at the 10 words in the vocabulary in this model, so the model is WV over here. So these are the 10 words. Okay. Now you can get a vector for a particular word in this model by simply doing WV. For example, here I'm getting the vector for the word king. So it actually prints the vector which is 300 dimensions over here like this. Okay. Now let's do some more interesting operations. So here we have a pair of words like car and minivan, car and bicycle, car and airplane, and then you have unrelated words like cereal and communism. Okay. Now you are trying to find the similarities between these words. So the word-to-vec model in Gensim has this function similarity. So you basically loop through the words and then try predict basically print the similarity between these two words. So you see over here is that car and minivan are much more similar than car and bicycle or car and an airplane or car cereal and car communism, right? So the word car is more related to the word minivan. Similarly, you can find which are the most similar words, positive words for the words car and minivan. So here we are printing the top 5 words over here. So the top 5 words which are very similar to car and minivan are SUV, vehicle, pickup truck, Jeep, Ford Explorer. Okay. So you can also print, say, the odd word over here, right? You can give a list of words and you say doesn't match. It prints the odd word over here. So the odd word over here is car. The other words are fire, water, land, sea, air, right? So this is about the basic functionalities of word2vec in Gensim. Now let us look at how we can build our custom model. Okay. So for this, I am using the Amazon review dataset. You can download this dataset from this particular link. Okay. I look at the cell phone accessories and review dataset from small datasets for experimentation. So I download the dataset. I had downloaded the dataset and then I load this dataset into a pandas data frame. Now the dataset looks like this. So basically, it has review text. It has some summary, right? So because this is from the cell phones and accessories, I want to actually build a custom word2vec model to map words very well in this particular domain. Okay, so here I do some pre-processing. Basically, I only look at the ratings and review text and I drop everything else. Then I define a method to clean text. So basically what happens over here is that I remove some punctuations and I create a list of words for every input text which is given over here. Okay, so I create a subsample of close to 200k reviews. Okay, and I just take the review text and I apply this clean method. So what happens is that every review is now converted into a list of words via this clean text method. Okay, now I take this list, and if I see that we have close to 200k sentences, basically every sentence is nothing but a list of words. Okay, we need to do this because we need to give this list of words as an input to our GenSim word2vec model to build our word2vec model. Okay, so I import GenSim. Then I use this particular code from this particular Stack Overflow link for actually printing the losses between every epoch. I'll come to that. Now let us look at how we can create our own word2vec model. Okay, so what we do over here is that we instantiate a word2vec model. We say that the word vector size should be around 300. So every word is represented by a 300 dimensional vector. The window, if you remember, the neighborhood of windows words around a particular word. So that is around 15 over here. I've given it as 15. So for a word to be counted as very rare, I say that ignore words which are below, say, which appears less than 2 times in our entire corpus. This workers is for multi-threading. Basically, when training the model, you have more workers, then it trains faster. SG equal to 1 means that this is a skip-gram model. GenSim also supports continuous bag of words, but in our case, I'm using skip-gram, training method. I am saying that I'll be using 5 words as negative samples. Okay, and this is the sampling rate, which, as I explained before, it is 1 to the power of basically e to the power of -5, which is a very small value. Okay, so what I've done over here is that I have initiated a skipgram model for training. Okay, then I build the vocabulary from our sentences, basically 200k sentences. Then I train the word2vec model. So for training, I give sentences as input. I give total examples as nothing but you can use word2vec model.corpus count. So this actually gives you the number of training examples. In our case, it is 200k. I train it for close to 1001 epochs, 1000 epochs, and then I say compute loss is equal to true. So in this way, I can have a callback function which can give me the loss at every epoch. Okay. Now, if you look at the callback function, it looks something like this. So basically, you initialize the epoch, and then you use this loss is equal to model dot get latest training loss to get the latest training loss from every epoch. Okay, and then you print over here. Basically, you also keep track of the previous step. Okay, idea here is that in GenSim, what it does is that it just adds the losses every time in every epoch. So if you use this model.get latest training loss, you kind of get the cumulative loss. That is why you need to use this code actually to calculate for if you want to exact loss after an epoch, you have to actually subtract the current loss from the previous loss. So that is what is being tracked over here. Okay, so this is enabled by using a callback class and by saying compute loss is equal to true, and report delay is by default set to 1 second, so it is used for printing this compute loss, the delay for the model. Okay, and then you have basically I track the time required for training this GenSim word2vec model. Okay, so if you look at the loss, I print the loss after every 100 epochs. So the loss is a very high value and slowly starts decreasing over here. By the end of 1000 epochs, you have this as your loss, and this really took a lot of time. This was run on a machine with close to 16 GB RAM and i7 processor, and this was the time taken, which is close to 2 hours, or maybe 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Okay. So now let us reload our Word2Vec model and perform operations using it. So I can just load the saved model. So basically I saved the model over here using Word2Vec model.save, and I'm just reloading the model over here. Okay, Word2Vec model. This is the path. So I am reloading the model over here. Now let us look at the vocab size in our model. So what we do is that we convert the vocab into a list. Okay, the model's vocabulary is given by this. I'm converting that into a list, and I'm operating the length of this list. Okay, then what I'm doing is that, so we have close to 29,000 unique words in our Word2Vec model. Okay, from our 200k reviews. Now I want to find the top 3 similar words for the word cancellation. How can I do that? I just have to call the Word2Vec model dot wv dot most similar. Positive is equal to this particular word, and top n is equal to 3. So basically the most top 3 similar words to the word cancellation. Similarly, the top 3 words to the word poor. Okay, then I look at similarity between, say, 2 words earphones and headphones, similarities between 2 words charger and charge. Now let us look at the results. So the top 3 words similar to cancellation are noise, cancelling, headset. So this is quite obvious, right? Noise cancellation headsets are present in our cell phone reviews. Similarly, the top 3 similar words to poor are bad, quality. So basically you have words like poor quality, bad quality. Okay, good is also present over here, which is quite comparatively the values of bad and quality are much higher. Okay, so similarity between earphones and headphones are very low, 0.48. But if you look at the similarity between charger and charge, it is quite high. So after 1000 epochs, this particular Word2Vec model has captured some amount of similarities between words. So we would actually require it to train for more epochs. So if you are building Word2Vec models, it is better that we use the pre-existing models from Google. But if you are building for a very narrow domain, then you need a good amount of data in that domain. Plus, you need to train for a longer number of epochs to actually get good embeddings. Okay. Now let us visualize these embeddings. How can we visualize these embeddings, right? So for that, what we need to do is that this code is again taken from the tutorial over here for Word2Vec, the GenSim tutorial basically. So for that, what we need to do is that we need to reduce our model from 300 dimensions to, say, 2 dimensions for visualizing it. For this, we use the TSNE visualization. So basically, TSNE is also a technique for reducing dimensions in data. You can find more about TSNE on Wikipedia. It basically tries to reduce the dimensions of our data and creates it into 2 dimensions. Okay, so this is the way in by which we will be doing the computing the TSNE these things. So this method does that. Then we have our method for plotting the visualization of the our graph. Okay, so here what I am doing is that again I am plotting basically I am plotting all the vectors. Okay, for our words. So we had close to, if I remember, 29k words in our vocabulary. So I am plotting all those vectors in these 2 dimensions, basically by reducing it to 2 dimensions. And then I'm looking at certain words like cell, phone, noise, cancellation, charger, charge, poor, bad, to see how these vectors, how close are these vectors in our visualization. Let us look at the TSNE visualization of our word vector space. So we had close to 30,000 words. So you have those many points over here. And if you now look at words like noise and cancellation, they are very close to each other, right? Cell and phone, poor and bad, charger and charge. So this skipgram word vector model is able to nicely capture the relationships between these words in this vector space. Now we can use these word vectors further downstream for different things like text classification, sentimental classification, topic modeling, and so on. So basically, we use these embeddings or the vectors or the word vectors as features for further downstream tasks.
If you like such content, please like the video, please share the video, please subscribe to the channel, please press the bell icon so that you get notifications whenever I create a new video. See you in the next video. Bye for now.